During day, the fisherman organizes the nets plus the floats and the sinkers, arranges them properly with the containers for ice, and the nets are of the recommended size. Then in the evening, that's when they set off to go for fishing. So when they reach at the fishing grounds, which is usually far away from the landing site, sometimes near islands, then they cast the nets in the water. And after casting the net, they leave the nets overnight. In the morning, they come and pull the nets from the water, expecting the nets to have caught some fish. So they pull the nets slowly. When they see the fish, they have to make sure that the fish, if the fish is alive and kicking, they don't beat the fish to kill it, to subdue it. They handle it properly to avoid damaging the quality. So they carefully remove the fish from the net. It is important to be careful at this stage, because if you do it in a hurry, then the strings of the net may cut the flesh of the fish, causing injury. So at this stage, we have to avoid injury or damage by not beating the fish to subdue it, and then also carefully disentangling the fish from the net to avoid the net threads cutting the fish, the flesh of the fish. So after they have removed the fish from the net, they put it in a container and they ice the fish immediately. It is important to ice the fish immediately after removing it from the net to preserve the quality. The quality of the fish is maintained using ice, which lowers the temperature of the fish. So they have to make sure that the fish is iced immediately and then put in the container. Then they drive the boat to the landing site. If they have a transport boat different from a fishing boat, the containers of iced fish are transferred and loaded on the transport boat, which are usually bigger boats than fishing boats. And then the transport boat takes the fish to the landing site. During transportation of the fish in the boat, we have to avoid bad practices of mixing fish with other goods like charcoal, like fuel, like merchandise, some crates. You have to avoid mixing fish with other items, because that will affect the quality of the fish. If the fish is going to be transported in a boat chamber, the boat chamber should be separate from other items. When the transport boat reaches the landing site, the fish is offloaded carefully from the boat to the slab. When offloading, if the fish is in the container, you just lift the container from the boat and you take it to the slab. If the fish is transported in a chamber, you pick the fish one by one into a container, and when the container is full, you lift the container and take it to the slab. The practice of throwing fish from the boat to the slab should be avoided. At the slab, we have to check the size of the fish first. Is it the recommended size? We use a measurement, a size measurement to check the size. The recommended size for Nile perch is 50 centimeters and above. So if the fish is less than 50 centimeters, then that fish is not allowed. It is undersized. It is rejected. If the fish is more than 50 centimeters, then that fish is recommended, is allowed, and we check the quality of that fish. We check the eyes. The eyes should be clear without any stains, blood stains. We check the gills. The gills should be bright red for good quality fish. We check the scales. The scales should be firm. We check the smell. The smell of the fish should be good seaweed smell, not bad smell. We check the meat, the texture of the fish. We usually press near the tail. If you press with the finger and you see that the meat is firm, it is not soft, then that fish is good. If you press with the finger and a depression remains, an impression of the finger remains, then that fish is spoiled, is already spoiled. It cannot be taken to the factory for processing. It has to be rejected. Also, the fish which is rejected is fish with bloody eyes, is fish with brown darker gills, is fish with bad rotten smell, is fish with loose scales. All those parameters show that the quality of the fish is not good. So the reason why we use the eyes and why we handle the fish properly is to ensure that the fish quality is maintained. At this point also, there are some fishermen who mark their fish. At the fishing ground, maybe some fishermen want to use the same transport boat to take the fish to the landing site. So they use different ways of marking. So at the landing site, we check for fish marking. If the fish has been marked, it has been cut, that fish, the quality of that fish is not good, because cutting the fish opens the fresh for entry of microorganisms, of bacteria, of the germs. So the fish which is accepted of good quality is weighed and then is iced in a fish truck. When icing in the truck, make sure that you don't step on the fish, and also after weighing, you don't throw the fish from the place of weighing up to the point where the truck is. So you load the fish in the truck properly, one layer after layer with ice. You first put the layer of ice, you put ice, fish, ice, fish, ice, fish in that order until you load the quantity that you want, and you get the fish certificate from the fish inspector at the landing site. When the truck reaches the factory, the supplier presents the fish inspection certificate from the fish inspector at the landing site to the factory, and the fish will be packed for offloading. The fish will be carefully offloaded. You get a container, you pick the fish from the ice in the truck, you put the fish in the container, and you carry the container to the production room. The fish again is checked for the quality, because at this point the factory is interested in only good quality fish which will be exported. So the quality parameters, they check the eyes, they should be clear, check the gills, they should be bright red, check the skin, the scales should be firm, not loose, check the anopo. When if fish is bad, you get and you squeeze the anopo, there is some black fluid which comes out. So if you squeeze and no fluid is coming out, that fish is good quality. You check the firmness, you press with the finger. If there is no finger impression, that fish is fresh and is of good quality. You check the size of the fish. It should be 50 centimeters and above, the recommended length for Nile perch. Any fish which is bruised, if it has a cut, or it has a wound, or it was bitten, or it has loose scales, it has brown gills, that kind of fish is rejected at that point, and the factory does not buy, does not pay for that fish. That becomes loss to the owner of the fish. So the fish which is good is then washed at the factory, is weighed, and then is taken to the processing line, where it is processed into finished products which are exported.